Welcome to The Real with Joseph Labman. I am Joseph Labman. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of The Real, taking time out of your day to come watch this episode. I really appreciate that. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe for me. I'd really appreciate that as well. That's the best way you can support this channel and help me grow my content and grow this channel to where I'd like it to be. Everybody hit the like button for me on the way in on this video today. That also helps promote this video more in the algorithms, helps grow this channel more as well. Please share this content. I would really appreciate that. My guests would as well. If you would please share this episode with someone you know that maybe is interested in the topic we're talking about today. Please leave a comment below as well. We'd love to hear your guys' feedback. You can interact with myself and the guest on the panel and the live chat as well. Whatever we're talking about, just leave a comment there in the live chat. Pop in and say hello. We'll put it on the screen for you. And yeah, without further ado, let's get to the show. Welcome back to The Real with Joseph Labman. I am Joseph Labman. Make sure my mic's on. Appreciate you guys for tuning in today. Yeah, like I said there, if you're new here, please hit the like button for me. And if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. We also have a few more subscribers over the weekend, so I really appreciate that. Welcome to the channel, you guys. Welcome on into The Real. The reason why maybe we have more subscribers because our boy Corey, Mr. Mihalik, as Mike says, the fellow Falcons fan and friend of mine, brother of mine. We had the draft party at my house on Thursday night for night one, and the Atlanta Falcons had the 8th pick and decided to draft Michael Penix Jr., the quarterback out of Washington, who, remind you, the Falcons just paid Kirk Cousins $100 million. Okay, make sure this mic's on. We're good. All right. Pay Kirk Cousins over $100 million on a 4-year deal. And, didn't expect them to take a quarterback. You thought they'd go maybe D-line, maybe a receiver. Roma Dunze was sitting there. But they shocked everybody and decided to go with with Michael Penix Jr. And right before they made the pick, Adam Schefter came on the screen and was like, the Atlanta Falcons are possibly considering a quarterback here. And Corey said before the night that he would be absolutely pissed if they took a quarterback because if they just paid Kirk Cousins, and that he would, go off. And, the Falcons took a quarterback. And as you can see here on TikTok, I just created a TikTok account, by the way. And this is my first 2 videos. And the first one really took off. So appreciate everybody on TikTok for the views and the comments and the interactions and the liking the video. I'd really appreciate that. But here is our boy Corey on his reaction to the Michael Penix Jr. pick, in case you haven't seen it already.
I swear to God, if I don't like the look on his face. He's like, I can't believe they took JJ McCarthy after you spent all this.
There might be worse. If it's Penix, I'll laugh. Is that Jim Harbaugh?
Oh my God! What are you doing? What are you doing? Are you fucking serious? Are you? Oh my God! You spent $100 million on fucking Kirk Cousins, and you got this guy? Oh my God! Oh my God!
Michael Penix.
My phone's
big
blowing up.
motherfucker sitting there.
My fucking phone's blowing up.
Is he standing on something?
Oh, someone just texted him laughing at us.
Hey, Joe Castro, he just texted me.
That's the dumbest shit.
So yeah, that was also Antonace in the background as well, and my dad was sitting there as well, Jersey, and yeah, but it gets better though. So on day 2, Kool-Aid McKinstry was sitting there, the cornerback out of Alabama. You had Newsome sitting there, another corner, and the Atlanta Falcons once again went ahead with Rook Okoro, and here was Corey's reaction to that while driving in the car.
Good evening, Detroit. Congratulations to the city of Detroit hosting the Super Bowl and now the NFL Draft 2024. To all the football fans across America.
Please don't fuck this up.
The Arizona Cardinals
Really?
have traded their 35th pick to the Atlanta Falcons. With that 35th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Atlanta Falcons select Rook Aurora.
Who
Aurora.
the fuck is this?
Let's go, hey.
Fuck is Root?
Help him out. It's Root Aurora, the defensive tackle.
Yeah.
In Detroit.
Corey was not a fan of that. So, not a fan of either pick. I did talk to him last night. He thinks Penix will be good, but just still doesn't make sense to him. But anyways, yeah, that was our weekend over here at the draft party and at the real. Our boy Corey blew up the internet. I think at one point Friday, I think it was around noon, he was number 2 trending in Falcons fandom, that video on my page. So yeah, I'm glad I pulled the. Corey didn't know I was recording him though. That was the thing. Like when Adam Schefter came up there and said, they're talking about taking a quarterback, I was like, because I don't like just recording people, especially without them knowing. But I'm like, I don't know, man, this could be pretty good. Because Corey already said what he would do. So I was like, all right, let me just do this. I put the phone like right here, and I just go ahead and just clicked it right on him, or clicked play on the video, just put the camera right on him, and yeah, the rest is history. And the comments in that TikTok video have been pretty interesting though. The first one, there's been a ton of them. So yeah, go check that out. Follow me on TikTok as well. I'm going to start posting some more stuff over there, highlights from the show, and some other type of content as well. So I'm going to start using it. That's my first TikTok account I've ever created. So here I am now. But it's not why I'm here today. Today I'm here though for a more than anxiety moment. As you can see in the title here today, why honesty is very key in anxiety healing. And so without further ado, let me get to it. So during my 8-9 year anxiety disorder, right? I went through anxiety disorder, hypochondriac. I was a hypochondriac, so real bad health anxiety. Went through real bad agoraphobia, which I've still been kind of working out of in the last year, and I've come a really long way, and I'm feels free, and it's the best I've ever felt in my life right now. So, but in those 8-9 years, there was many times, especially in the beginning phases, in the middle, where I wasn't really being honest with myself, but also honest with the people around me and the people that were trying to help me, people that really cared about me. I was trying to hold it in. I was trying to, forget about the past. I was trying to hide it. I was trying to hide how I really felt. Whether I was thinking about something or someone, I would hold it in. I didn't want to let it out. I thought people would think weird. I was weird, or I was worried about people's perceptions about me, right? And I also started to have a sense of avoidance. Avoidance of not only just going places and living my life, but also just avoiding people and interactions with certain people and just certain places, and it became just in general. I just avoided everything, which caused my agoraphobia. But a lot of it was because I was afraid to be honest. I knew deep down inside what really I was thinking about, what really was causing me to feel the way I felt, because I thought about it in my head every single day, and the things that were bothering me. And a lot of times those thoughts, those feelings, those emotions, those past memories, they come out in the form of anxiety. Anxiety really is just those things stored in your body, those things that haven't been addressed yet, the root causes that your lower selves try to tell you, like, hey, we're worried about this, what should we do with this? So a lot of times that's where you get the symptoms from, the intrusive thoughts, all the weird things that come with anxiety, right? That you guys all know about if you suffer from it. And that's what it was for me. And so a lot of times, like a lot of people, I got caught up in the symptoms. Let me try to stop the symptoms. Let me try to stop the intrusive thoughts. Let me try to stop all the things that I don't like, that none of us like, that are negative, and try to hide and forget about the other stuff that deep down inside I'm really thinking about, and it's causing my anxiety. And so I did that for a long time. I took medications. I went to basic talk therapy. It was all just a lot of coping, but not a lot of healing. And I wasn't getting to a lot of root causes, and I was still holding stuff in. And a lot of times, in private, I would listen to certain music. I would do certain things that help me for myself to let those things out privately. The things I was thinking about with some certain songs I listened to would help me kind of, reflect on the past, the things that were bothering me, and just stuff like that. I do different things to help me I was doing a lot of reflecting for a period, but I wasn't expressing, I wasn't letting it out. And the longer it sat in me, the more that energy started to build up, which in turn gave me more anxiety, more symptoms, which led to more anxiety attacks, more panic attacks, and also the more I shrunk and I didn't leave the house. I didn't want to go places. I didn't want to do things. I was very control freak now, trying to keep everything safe. I wanted to feel safe. I wanted to feel like I'm okay. And, everything had to be, along with that too, a lot of times with anxiety sufferers, they know this. If you're one of them watching, that we become perfectionists a lot of times. We have to feel a certain way. We have to, in order to do anything, to leave the house, to go to work, to go interact with people at a function or whatever it may be, everything has to be perfect. We have to feel just right. And we become perfectionists, not only just with our health and how we feel, but also just in the outside world. I want people to think of me like this. I want people to say this to me. Everything has to go the way we want it. So, which is oftentimes just a way of us feeling safe. We want to feel safe because we don't want to feel those negative emotions and thoughts and feelings that hurt us in the past, right? But what was missing in all of that, though, was honesty for me. And the reason why I say that is because honesty was the biggest thing that, honesty, and what I mean by honesty is being honest with myself, number one, what I'm really feeling. And I started to write it out on paper just to myself and then privately to a therapist. But then after that, I started to express that to other people slowly over time. And just being honest with them, told them how I felt. This is what I'm really thinking, and this is what bothers me from my past still, from the incident that happened to me when I was 15 and all that. And, this is what I'm really going through. This is what I'm really thinking about. This is what's making me feel the way I feel every single day. It's not about I'm worried about my health. It's not that I'm really worried about will this symptom kill me or anything. It was really more just these are the things deep down inside that are swaying me emotionally each and every day, swaying my emotions and my which then goes to my mental, which then goes to my physical, and then ultimately spiritually as well. And so they're all intertwined, they're all connected together. And so, for me, once honesty became the main ingredient in my healing and was the driving force for me, that's when everything started to open up. And that's when I started to, and it took time for me, it took time. What I mean by honesty, what were different ways that I was starting to be honest? Like I said, number one, I was starting to express with other people, express to other people, what I was thinking about. Number two would be I was starting to reframe those incidents and those things and meditate in a proper way to give me a clearer picture on those things and help me to, journal as well. And this helped me to slow down my inner world, help me to slow down my life, and help me to, just really kind of see things for what they really were. I think oftentimes a lot of people, what really drives our anxieties is inner thoughts and things. Like for me, for instance, it was, the incident that happened to me at 15 years old, everything that happened my freshman year of high school, the things I was holding in that whole year, and a lot of my confidence got destroyed that year a lot, and just a lot of that baggage I carried with me after I left abruptly, and I had to sit and dwell on that. And for years I was manifesting on that, and it oftentimes I was just writing the story in my head. I was continuing the story of how I felt when I left, and I was continuing that story of how I wanted things to be, but also how I thought people thought about me, a lot of times negatively. And it was just like this negative story I was creating in my head that just manifested in my mind. I was replaying in my mind. I would add to it over and over and over for years, for a couple of years after that, until I finally said enough was enough. And, and I started to question it. And I said, this isn't helping me. But I had to be honest with myself, though, to get to that point, and I think a lot of times we don't want to be honest with ourselves or with other people is because we're trying to hang on to something that we don't want to let go of, right? We're trying to create the life we want. We're trying to be a control freak, like I said I was earlier. We're trying to keep everything the way we want because we want to feel safe. But that's a bad way to live and not a freeing way to live. And that's a very debilitating way to live in the long run. And, I think a lot of times people try to either just from what they want, because maybe they didn't have certain things when they were younger, things were missing growing up in childhood, or maybe you had a traumatic incident or incidents that made you feel a certain way and you don't want to feel that way ever again, right? So everything we try to do from here on out, from that point forward, is to How can I control my environment from ever feeling that again? How can I control everything? Right? Very control freak. And I think a lot of it too nowadays for a lot of people is pressure from social media, pressure from the outside world. Um, I saw a lot of people I knew growing up that grew up in very pressured communities, whether with the church or the school. And a lot of them kind of suffer the consequences of that today, to be honest with you. And, they could never really escaping that pressure. It's very worried about what other people think, whether about status with money or how you appear to the outside world and all about this image and stuff. You know what I mean? It's a lot of pressure. But with that though, that's kind of living like a false sense of who you really are. You know what I mean? If you really think about that, a lot of people nowadays are living a life that they really don't. That's not who they really are. It's just to try to please the outside world, to please other people. But how's that an honest life? It's not. There's no honesty in that. And without it, like I said, it's not. It's a very debilitating life. It's a very, especially for an anxiety sufferer. And a lot of times, this is how a lot of mental health issues and problems are created. Is because of this now, especially nowadays. This is how a lot of them are manifested and created because of all these things. This pressure from the outside world, the internal things that people don't want to let go of, and a lot of times just because. And I'm not picking on you because I used to be this person, and sometimes I still have to check myself. It's because I think a lot of people nowadays are afraid to be themselves because a lot of things in the world say it's bad to do that and that we won't accept you. There's a lot of pressure there. We see it. And I think oftentimes we start writing stories about that in our head, which are really just illusions and not true. It's not as big as you think it is. It's actually nothing. But I think also too, just people don't know. There's not a lot of, and I kind of blame. I don't blame anybody, but there's not a lot of true healing out there. It's not promoted, by certain companies, therapists. I'm not picking anybody, but not picking anybody or calling anybody out. But I just don't think, especially in our world, the Western world here in America, our anxiety healing, the way we approach it and we approach these things, I don't think it's the best. I think a lot of times it's more of just kind of a quick fix, and we're really just being honest, get people, in a system and where they can, we know the rest of that. But don't need to get into that. But we know how we do it here in America, and I think the way we handle these cases when they occur, mental health problems when they occur, whether it's anxiety or whatever it is, depression, our first line of defense, our first line of treatment isn't the best, I don't think. Now, has it improved over the last 4 or 5 years? I think it slowly has because it's been more of a need than ever. I think more people are vocal. It's kind of why I do that's why I do what I do, and helping other people now. But I think that's a lot of it too, is just people don't believe in it anymore either. And so they just keep going along with whatever they're feeling. I'll just suck it up, and it's almost like just giving up. Like, this is just my life forever. This is the rest of my life. And that's a sad place for somebody to be, because it's not true. Everything is reversible. You can reverse everything. And there's people out there that really care about you, want to help you, want to see you grow. I'm one of them. And just like Dennis Simsek, the anxiety guy, was out there for me back in 2018. I had just moved August of 2017. I had moved from the house I was at for 7 years, and the house where all that stuff happened to me at 15 years old. I became very attached to the house, the neighborhood, the community, knew everybody. And so the change at the time was very scary for me. I didn't really like it, but I had no choice. And so we had no choice as a family either. So, but it was also, in the long run, it was the best thing for us. Looking back now, I could say it was the best thing that ever happened to me. I'm glad it happened. But at that time, it was very scary. And so from August of 17 up until March of 2018, I barely left the house. I barely let a block away from the home, at the new house. I just was the change really scared me. And it just made me, my agoraphobia was really strong at the time, really controlling me every day. Just my fears, my emotions and everything. The anxiety was really crippling my life. And so at that point, I was going to basic talk therapy, doctor's appointments. And this day in particular, March of 2018, I had a doctor's appointment I was supposed to go to that day because I was on medication. So you have to go to 6-month checkup, or every 3 months, whatever it was. I can't remember exactly. But I couldn't make it to the appointment because I hadn't left the house, and I just couldn't go. I remember calling the doctor, just upset on the phone. I'm telling her sorry, and the doctor was great, and she understood, and she was able to work things out with me, and we were able to find other avenues at that time what I needed. But yeah, I remember just sitting there in the car in the driveway, just feeling defeated, feeling down. My mom and dad were very upset because they didn't know what else to do. My mom got really emotional that day because she's like, I don't know what else to do anymore. I want to die. Yeah, we were all just very defeated, to be honest with you. We were just like, what has happened? Why can't we fix this? And all we knew is what we knew, which is what everybody else, like I just said, we were just going along with the first, line of defense or first line of action, like everybody else. Go see a doctor, get on medication, and go to talk therapy and see if that helps. And that's what I was doing for almost 2.5 years up to that point. But it was very in spurts. I would do good, but I didn't feel like I was actually really like moving forward. I didn't feel like I was really healing. I was actually starting to go backwards. And I remember sitting in the driveway that day, and I remember just sitting there going, man, there's got to be something else out there. There's got to be another way out there. Like, there's got to be someone or something. Because I also felt at that time, too, all the weird things I was holding in. But going back to my point earlier about being honest, and why I was hiding things and holding things in was because I didn't feel like people would understand me either. Because I would try to tell them some of the weird things about anxiety. People just didn't really understand it, or people just think, well, gee, maybe it's this, like you have an ailment. So now I really think something's wrong with me. So now my anxiety and fear is really high. I just didn't feel like there was somebody out there, like going back to what I just said about why I think people have kind of given up nowadays. I was one of those people. So I totally understand that. I was in that position in 2018 at 18 years old. But that day in the driveway, it was God speaking to me, saying, Joseph, there's another way. And that's what I thought. There has to be another way. There has to be another way. And even if I was the only one at that time that believed it, I said, there's got to be another way. Because I remember telling my dad in the car, I was like, I think there's something else out there. And he's like, well, I don't know what else. I mean, this is all we can, this is it. Like, you're like, you need to just get there. But I was like, no, there's something deeper. Like, there's somebody out there that can help me. Like, I was looking for somebody that really understood me is what I wanted. That's what I wanted. I just wanted somebody to understand me, and I wanted to slow down, and I wanted to just let it all out and find that connection with somebody. And I went on YouTube, and I've just typed in anxiety, and the anxiety guy popped up, Dennis Simsek, and I remember the first video I heard, I just couldn't believe it. The guy, Dennis mentioned all the symptoms, he mentioned everything. All the weird things I thought I was going through, he listed it all in that video. In this one video I found, I was like, God just led me to him, and to that certain video. And just from that day forward, I got hooked. And from that point on, it was just a slow, gradual over time. I would start to open up more, and I would start to feel more comfortable, and I'd start to have more of an understanding. I educated myself for a long time, for a period, listening to his videos. And, it took me a while. It took me probably about 3 more years after that to really finally let go and to break free, because it was a slow process for me. But during that 3-year span, though, I learned a lot. A lot of things I'm sharing the show today that was my college, basically, was in those 3 years, just sitting and listening to his videos and research and education and on what I was going through. And and then eventually I got to the point where I said, okay, now I need to make a plan, because I was still trying to self-heal myself, without really real like guidance or direction. And then I got to a point when I was 21 in 2021 where I said, okay, I need to find like real help now. And I finally took those steps to do that with programs, with my anxiety guy, and actually getting a real like counselor to help me guide me through it along the way. And that led me all the way up to where I am now. But I also started to become more honest as well. I look back now, honesty, just with myself, but also in the moments, even, if you're at moments during the day where, let's say there's something deep down inside you're thinking about. Maybe you're worried about losing your job, right? You don't want to tell anybody that. Or maybe you're worried, you're just some type of insecurity or something you're hanging on to from the past, maybe an ex or somebody or whatever it is, right? Or maybe you're in a relationship now and you don't really feel like the person you're with, you have concerns, but you don't want to tell anybody. You don't want to, we know, you guys know what I'm talking about. Sometimes there's things we try to hold in as people. We don't want to tell anybody. We just keep it to ourselves. And sometimes even, praying to God, obviously, which is most important, but we need people to help us, whether it's just one person. We need, we have each other for a reason, but we also have to let it out to someone. We have to express. I think that's very key. Well, you can't just hold it in and try to figure it all out on your own, because that's what I did for that period. I was trying to figure it out on my own until I found somebody to really, and whether it's a counselor, somebody you trust, or if like a family member, a close friend, whatever it is, a pastor, I don't know, whatever it is for you, whoever that person is for you, that's confidential for you. You have to let it out. And I think that's what a lot of people don't have nowadays either. But for me, once I started to do that and I started to let out what I was really thinking to somebody else, and I got somebody else's opinion back that really cared about me, wanted to help me, I started to feel relief. And I started to feel like, gee, I'm not alone, number one, either. And because the people I would start to express to and stuff, they would let me know, they would share with me kind of their, history with the same type of thing or whatever it was, you know what I mean? And so, but I think a lot of times, like I said, that people hold things in because they're afraid of what other people may think. And a lot of times their own insecurities, or we feel inferior, or what are people going to think about me, and yada, yada, what if this happens to me? Sometimes the biggest step is just accepting it and just letting go. The first step, really, just being honest with yourself. It's like a lot of times with, people who are recovering addicts or stuff, the first step is just admitting it. Admitting that I am an addict, admitting that, I have anxiety, admitting that I can't do this on my own, admitting that this isn't working, admitting that maybe this probably isn't God's plan for me. And so that's what honesty was for me. But also, it helped me to ultimately do this podcast. It started to build my confidence more. And that's the three things I want to leave with you real quick on this topic. And I have a video real quick I'm going to play from my man, Aaron Cartwright, who I thought had a really good video I want to share here at the end out of this topic of the show here. But the three things I want to share with you, the 3 C's I call them. Number one, community. Community was very key for me. And also not just community, but being honest with my community. So number one, I was honest with God. But also the 3 C's, though. I was honest with my community. I found a good community, people that really cared for me, good people, good friends. God brought a lot of good people in my life, and people back in my life, and just, my family, my friends that were already in my life, just my community as a whole. And actually just people I never met, I started opening up and broadening up to other people too, randomly, where I was at the park or wherever. I just started to find connection with people. And a lot of times during conversation, I found that we would get into talks about anxiety and stuff, and people would have the same, because they would ask what I do, or what's your life, what goes on in your life, and I would kind of share with them kind of what I was going through with anxiety, and I would find connection, and I'd be honest with them too, and I'd find that community. And with that community, I found out I wasn't alone, and I found out that, gee, I can do this, because I also met people who were overcomers as well, but also people who were going through it at the same time. And that sense of comfort and knowing I wasn't alone, knowing that I didn't have to hold it in, knowing that no one really does think differently of you, and that a lot of times, like I said earlier, those stories we create in our head are really just illusions, that, there's a community out there of people that really care for you, want to help you, that aren't judging you and love you, and more than you think. And there's people in my life now I haven't even met in the future one day, and one day I will meet them, or I haven't met in my life, but one day in the future I will meet them. God has already destined for them to be in my life, or I'll be in theirs. The community's out there waiting for you. You just have to embrace it and be honest. And the second C, kind of what I was going along with, is communication. So communication, and communication just by not just texting, calling people. I'm a big proponent of that. I like to text here and there, but I like to call people. I want to hear people's voice. I want to see your face. You know what I mean? I want to hear your voice. I want to see your face. There's no emotion in texting. There's just something about communication, real communication, which we've kind of lost touch in our society because of the phone and just social media, and everything's texting now, or, a picture, or, I think we've lost touch, which has hurt our society in a lot of ways. Is our communication has been gone to shit. We're just being honest. So, but communication was very key, and honest communication with people, with my support group, and with people that, like, if it's your counselor, whoever, be honest, communicate, but have that open line of communication, healthy communication. And most importantly with God and prayer. You can tell God anything. and open up in prayer, let it out to him. And trust me, you'll feel 100 times better after. And then with those two things, the third C for me is confidence. Ways you could build confidence, ways you could build confidence in yourself again, confidence in the outside world, confidence in your relationships, confidence in just who you are. Confidence is key. And with confidence comes certainty. And once you have certainty in your life, nothing's really stopping you as much. You start to really face challenges head on. You say you really believe that you can overcome it because you see it for what it really is now. You see things for what they really are. You're very confident in all you do, which ultimately helps your faith spiritually, which is most important. And so those are the 3 C's for me that really helped me. And I want to play this message here from Aaron on the way out. And that's my message today on this, on why honesty is very key in anxiety healing. Here's Aaron Cartwright on giving a message here that kind of goes along today with some of the things I've shared. And let's hear Aaron here. If I can get a full screen first. All right, there we go.
What you're yearning for is some safety, some love, some support, and you can give it to yourself in a way that no one's going to be able to give it to you. And that's a beautiful thing. No girlfriend in the future is going to be able to give it to you the way you need. The great thing about that is you can give it so well to yourself if you allow yourself to do it. You have so much power within you, we forget the power we have inside of ourselves. Especially when we're going through shit, we're like, oh, I'm fucking weak. We have weak times, and we're actually really strong too. We're very strong. We're very resilient humans. So I'm going to get that back to you today so you have that realization.
Great message there by Aaron. And shout out to Aaron, great guy. And actually might be on the show here pretty soon. So I will get that together, get that booked, get that going. But anyways, but love the message there. And I love what he said there. What you're really yearning for: safety, love, and support. And that kind of goes along with community, communication, and confidence. Um, I think a lot of times you find safety in your community. I think you find love in your community, the communication and safety in both, support and all those. I think you find confidence in all 3 of that as well. But I love what he said. Also, just the key word he said there though was allowing, which kind of goes with honesty. Allow, trust. Do you really believe in what you're doing? Because if you don't, you need to allow yourself to look in a different direction and find what's best for you and find that truth in your situation. But I like what he said there, allowing, and just giving it to yourself, giving it back to yourself. You have it within you. And I think that's sometimes a lot of people kind of just don't see that. They don't believe in themselves anymore. And they don't allow themselves to, hey, maybe step out of your comfort zone. Trust me, you have the power within you. You have it within you if you really just believe. If I can do it, you can do it. If Aaron could do it, you can do it. If Dennis Simsek, the anxiety guy, can do it, you can do it. And we all 3 of us would tell you that. And so, but allowing yourself, I think that's the key. Allow yourself to go, kind of like I said, taking that first step. Allow yourself to be vulnerable. Allow yourself to just allow yourself to be. Allow whatever happened to may happen. If the worst happens, so be it. And that may be scary for a lot of people, but at some point you got to ask yourself, when is enough enough? How much longer can you keep holding on to this stuff and trying to allowing this to control your life? Is it really working for you? Is it really a freeing life? Are you really happy deep down inside? Because if you're not, you're going to feel more pain down the road than you would, temporarily now if you had to go through maybe, a couple challenges because you're pushing yourself, you're overcoming fear that may be scary or painful for a moment, but it will pass. You will overcome. I'd rather go through the temporary than these sometimes things that can pain that's a lot harder to get over down the road because you don't want to look back one day and say, gee, I wish I would have did more. Regret. And yeah. And so love the message there by Aaron. And that's my message today on this. Let me know what you guys think down below. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments. I'd love to hear your feedback. And let me know what you guys think. And so, like I said, if I can do it, so can you. And so we'll all be more than anxiety together, just like Dennis says all the time. But when I come back, I'm going to hit on the NBA playoffs real quick. The Los Angeles Lakers last night lost to the Denver Nuggets. in 5 games. LeBron James had some interesting comments after the game. The Cavs also play tonight as well after a horrendous loss over the weekend. Now the series tied 2-2. So I'm going to touch on those 2 things real quick when I come back. And yeah, I'll see you guys in a minute.
Because people put labels on you, sometimes people believe them. After a lot of, constantly people saying, "Oh, you're this, you're that," you'll never do this, you'll never be like that, whatever. Sometimes
I think
people
this is
believe them.
important. I wrote this down right here because this is key for people our age, especially somebody like me who's 23, single. Is not to don't wear the labels the world might say you are. And so people could tell me in my life, some of the things in my personal life, obviously because we're good friends, but certain things maybe I haven't achieved yet because of what happened to me, just because of circumstances. But if I were to keep wearing that label of I don't have X, Y, and Z yet, or if I would go by the world standards and the pressure, and sometimes even your own family, and he even said in the sermon earlier, he said sometimes the wisest thing for you to do, nobody will agree with you, literally nobody, and that could be your own, it could be everybody around you, but as long as you listen to the voice and you can feel that conviction, why should you be afraid? Why not? What's there to be? What I mean? What that should give you somewhat of a confidence, and that's hard to do because when everybody around you is telling you what to do, you can start to wear I could have started to wear those labels and started to I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you today though. I can tell you that I'd be in a deep hole. So I guess kind of what we talked about this in our last episode we did too, back I think it was like in October.
Yeah.
About being bold and courageous, and because that's really what it is. I think surrendering, it takes a leap of courage, of faith. And so I guess kind of what are the things that have helped you in your past, or what some words of encouragement people out there, especially our age, watching about, being bold and courageous and not wearing your past, not wearing the labels and all that.
It's something that's, it's easier said than done, but you definitely have to try to surrender. Surrender it all to God. Giving it to Him, laying at the foot of the cross, and just trusting Him through it all. Because people put labels on you, sometimes people believe them. After a lot of, constantly people saying, "Oh, you're this, you're that," you'll never do this, you'll never be like that, whatever. Sometimes you believe them, after hearing it enough, and then at the end of the day, it's just lies. But you have to trust that, Christ is going to set you free, as He said He will. You just got to take the first step and surrender it to Him first before He takes it, because He's not going to do it forcefully. He's going to do it. He wants you to take the first leap of faith.
All right, welcome back. Move on to Los Angeles now, to the Los Angeles Lakers, who got bounced last night in the NBA playoffs. Another close loss on the road in Denver. Jamal Murray hits another game winner, and the Lakers lose in 5. And so now the question is, what's next for LeBron? What's next for the Lakers? LeBron James can opt out of his contract this summer. He has a $51 million year. I think it's $51 million on option left on his deal, if I'm not mistaken. I'm trying to think, but most people think he's going to opt out of his contract. Now, whether he stays at the Lakers or maybe goes to the Knicks, which has been a rumored destination, I don't know. But my thoughts on it. Well, first, let's hear LeBron's thoughts on it when he was asked the question last night. So here's LeBron last night asked about, was last night his last game as a Laker?
Tonight, was there any thought at all that this could have been your last game with the Lakers?
I'm not going to answer that. Appreciate it.
Yeah, he's not going to answer that.
What was the question that he didn't answer? I didn't
appreciate it, he said. So, yeah. What do I think LeBron's going to do? I just want to give my 2 cents on this. Listening to a lot of the reporters today, you had Kari Champion last night, a former ESPN anchor tweeted for the game. She heard from somebody that it was LeBron's last game. You've also heard some people say that, like Shams Charania and Brian Windhorst, who are pretty plugged into LeBron's camp, that they don't really think he's leaving the Lakers, and that the Lakers will maybe try to get Trae Young and draft Bronny. I think it comes down to this: what does LeBron really want to do? If he wants to compete for championships, I don't know if adding Trae Young to the Lakers, a smaller 5'11", 6-foot guard, he gives them more offense, but I don't know if that helps them defensively, and I don't know if that catapults them over Denver or some of these other teams like Minnesota out west, or even OKC. These younger teams coming. Um, I don't know. I just think if he wants to just ride out in the sunset and get as much money as he wants, the Lakers allegedly will give him a 3-year, maybe $100+ million deal, which I think is kind of crazy by the Lakers. I get LeBron makes and generates you a ton of money, but I just don't know. This team to me, just LeBron and AD and this Lakers team, I feel like it's just ran its course. You've maxed it out. Um, I don't know which more. I mean, how many times have they tweaked this roster in 6 years? A lot. Every year it feels like they have a new team every year, and so, but it hasn't really panned out like that. To be honest with you, I mean, they've won the championship in the bubble that one year. But other than that, it's been a roller coaster in LA. First round exits, sweep, getting swept, getting gentlemen swept last night. Just I don't really. If like I said, if LeBron just wants to ride out in the sunset and just retire in 2 years, which probably is going to happen, play with his son, and get it one more last deal, then maybe it makes sense for him to stay in LA. But I think if he really wants to go out with a bang and really have that kind of Michael Jordan last dance kind of thing, which I think he's capable of doing, for sure. I think maybe the Knicks could be an option. I think the Knicks have younger pieces they could trade. Maybe trade and call Phoenix if Kevin Durant wants out of there. LeBron could just opt out and go sign in New York. And you could have LeBron, Durant, and Brunson. Or maybe, if LeBron leaves LA, maybe Anthony Davis could. I don't know. I think LeBron in New York with Brunson and another star player kind of forming a big three there and winning a championship for New York and for the Knicks, I think would be huge. And he still gets to stay in a global big market, and continue to grow his brand even more. Um, I think the Knicks would be the most impactful and probably the biggest bane and the biggest. I think if he really wants to win another championship and go out, and really elevate his legacy even more, I think the Knicks are an option. Would be the choice in my opinion. But if I had to give my bet right now, I'd say 60-40. He's probably stayed in LA. I think the Lakers want to keep him around just because they're not the richest franchise ownership wise, and so LeBron generates them a lot of money. They're all in on I think on the Bronny sweepstakes and making that happen. And it's LA. They're all into the storylines and the glitz and the glamour. And, we got to have a star. We got to have all this headlines and attention on us. And, but I'm really curious though, any real Lakers fans out there watching, what you guys think about it. And, like not LeBron fans, Lakers fans. What do you guys think about it? Because your team gives this guy at almost 40, who's still playing great, 3-year, possibly or 2-3-year multi-million-dollar deal, and you draft a son. You're tied to him now for a long time. If I'm the Lakers, don't you want to get younger? Try to trade some of these at LeBron and AD, or maybe just LeBron, try to get some younger. Try to get younger. Try to get some younger assets in there. And if I'm LeBron, if I really want to compete for a championship, I think the Knicks, to me, probably give them the best bet because it fits all the boxes for them off the court as well. But we'll see what happens. I don't think Darvin Ham will be the coach. Nobody else thinks that either. It sounds like he's pretty much fired and out the door. I know, like during Game 3, LeBron was sitting there. Somebody saw him on the side of sitting next to him on the bench. Actually heard him say, I think Darvin pulled somebody in the game, and LeBron said, "Why is this mother effer getting in the game before me?" And so you hear stuff like that, you're probably like, yeah, you could just see it on the court. You watch the Lakers sometimes this year, they look like a team just they weren't really even being coached at times. And maybe Darvin Ham was trying to coach them and the players weren't taking the coaching, kind of just freelance doing their own thing, which I think is possible as well, to be honest with you. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'll say 60-40 right now at this moment he stays in LA, but that could change. We'll see what happens. But last, moving on to my Cavs. Tough last 2 games in Orlando, blown out both games. They play again tonight at home, Game 5. I think they'll still win the series in 7. They are not a good road team in the playoffs. Clearly, not even going back to last year against the Knicks. It's just not their thing. But even if they win the series, if they lose, the Cavs aren't going anywhere because the problem with the Cavs is the problem I've said all year. Kobe Altman has built this team like a college team. You have 2 6'1" guards. You have a 6'5" shooting guard and 2 7-footers who aren't very, aren't spacing out the floor and creating their own shot kind of guys. Evan Mobley's developed more of a 3 this year, which he's been pretty good at. But this isn't a very balanced. This is built like a college team, and their bench isn't the greatest. Why Craig Porter Jr. didn't play for the rest of the year, I have no idea. He looked pretty good. They just kind of gave up on him. Sam Merrill plays in sport and spurts, but we don't really see him a whole lot sometimes. You have a guy, Marcus Morris, sitting out there on the bench who's a NBA veteran, can score the ball, 6'9". We're just going to DMP him. He's not playing. Jamie Bickerstaff, I think he's seen his last days probably here in Cleveland. This is probably it for him. I think they do need to move on. And I think Kobe Altman probably needs to be addressed as well and possibly moved on from. He's tried this multiple times now with the small guards. You tried it with Garland and Colin Sexton, 2 6'1" guards. And then you go out and you trade Colin Sexton for a better guard. Obviously, Donovan Mitchell is one of the better guards in the league, but he's also 6'1". And you pair him alongside a 6'5" Max Strus at the small forward. And before that, it was 6'5" Okoro, who's not as good as a jump shooter, better defender, but he's still 6'5". He's really more of a 2 and a 3. And what I mean by 3 is in certain lineups. And same thing with Strus. I just don't. This is a very. You look at this roster, like I said, just from a logistics standpoint, in terms of size and athleticism and skill on both ends, being two-way players, versatility. They don't have it. They just don't have it. They're too small, and they're very too one-dimensional. If they're not hitting their threes, they're not very good. Which you don't want to be just a 3-point shooting team. Jared Allen has some good nights, and some nights he's okay. Evan Mobley, same thing. There's just not a lot of consistency, and I think a lot of it too is just because you have two ball-dominant guards, especially one guy, Donovan Mitchell, who. He's jacking the ball up 30-plus times a game, and sometimes he doesn't take the best of shots. And one thing that stood out to me watching Saturday in that game was the two guys that didn't play, Marcus Morris and Tristan Thompson, were the guys leading the huddle, were the guys that were trying to be leaders on the sideline, were the guys trying to get the team going. And you look at Donovan Mitchell, he was kind of sitting there like shaking his head, but he didn't really say anything. Didn't really, you just kind of, you don't know what this guy's thinking. He's kind of like he's out there just looking for his shot. And if it's not falling, oh well. And so I don't think Donovan Mitchell is the guy that's going to be the number one guy that can lead you to a championship. I think for what they were hoping for this thing to work was to have like a 4 all-star kind of players together with Garland, Donovan, and then Evan and Jared, and to possibly get maybe a guy at the 3. But it hasn't evolved into that. And I think what's kind of hindered Evan Mobley's development a little bit too is just throwing a guy in there in his second, third year in his career, like Donovan Mitchell, who needs the ball to be good. He's only good if he has the ball in his hands and he's shooting the ball. Other than that, he's not. He's shown a little bit better off the ball, but he's not the greatest defender. He showed his playmaking abilities more this year. I think at times, but you have Garland, who that's kind of his bread and butter. He's your point guard. So, again, I just think it's a very unbalanced team. I don't think the pieces really complement each other. And just from a schematic, like just from a size point as well, I think they're just too small. So, on the perimeter. And so I think they need more depth. They need to get bigger. They need to get, just more of a legit look like an NBA team, not a college team. Because that's what they look like right now. They look like a college team at times. Just being, it's the way they're built, the way they look at times. You're just kind of like, this ain't got to cut it. You're not going to go deep in the playoffs in the NBA looking like this or playing like this. So that's my opinion. Hopefully they win tonight, though. Go Cavs. We'll see what happens. But yeah, love all you guys. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And let me know what you guys think about today's show. I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm out of here. Go.